Eric Sutfin here with ZEAL Remote.
Eric, great. Thanks so much for joining us here at the conference in Kingston, Jamaica, giving Breaking Travel News some time. Tell us a little bit about ZEAL.
ZEAL is the only platform to connect travelers, brands, and destinations, personalizing their experience to allow them to effectively live remotely wherever they want around the world.
And give me some context and the link between what you do and what this conference is all about.
We're creating resilience in these destinations by enabling travelers to tap really into and through the destinations more effectively, allowing them to really immerse themselves into the culture and destinations, the events, the restaurants, the accommodations that are suited to them, so they're able to actually have a more enjoyable experience getting integrated into the communities, spending more money, more time, and ultimately using it as a gateway for residency and bringing their business into these destinations.
And give me some sense of kind of what that really means from a resilience perspective and from a sustainability perspective for the destinations themselves.
Well, the destinations are, of course, looking to minimize the impact that travelers have. So by bringing fewer and more of the appropriate travelers that are going to be able to spend more money and create more integration, they're able to have more stability and resilience in being able to allocate those resources and even amplify them, the reach of them, to the appropriate travelers that are going to be more of a cultural fit and representative of that culture and experiences.
You've been on some panels here, and you're definitely a subject matter expert, I'd say, in a very, very interesting emerging trend, I suppose, in a sense, that has probably just kind of expanded massively over kind of the pandemic. Give us a kind of sense of the size of the market and where the market's going, what the needs are, what the challenges are.
Remote work is undoubtedly here to stay. We've seen that pre-COVID there was about 7 million digital nomads. Those are those living and working outside of their home for additional 90 days or more. We've seen that completely expand sevenfold. We're now at 35 million digital nomads, projected by 2025 in another 2 years to be 125 million remote workers. So it's continuing to just compound 130% year over year. Looking at 16% of companies being completely remote. In the US, 30% still in this remote and hybrid environment. So undoubtedly every business as well as destination is having to adapt to this new technologically savvy workforce. How are we able to enable and support them and to adopt these technologies to be able to have this work-life balance and integration more so into their daily lives? And so it's undoubtedly here to stay, and we're here to support people to make it more easy to be able to share this commonwealth of knowledge so they can modify their policies, they can adapt because they aren't closed anymore, to how do they support them in enabling this lifestyle and accessibility wherever they choose to be.
This intersection between live and work and tourism, I guess, in a way, it's a really interesting market. Can you kind of size it up for us?
This year, there's $787 billion of spending that these 35 million remote workers are doing. So because we're not seeing travelers go for 7 or 14 days, they're going and often spending half of them well over a month in these destinations. The amount of spending that they're infusing into these destinations is massive. Given that well over 50% of them are six-figure earners, this affluent traveler is more keen to be able to really support these destinations by coming in, using less resources and infusing more capital to and through the destination into some of these long-term extended stay markets and those that aren't the typical tourist hotspots, which really supports these destinations at large.
And what markets are you seeing in the world that are really embracing this, really adopting this? And not only list them out, but tell me a little bit about kind of how they're refining their proposition to really meet these needs.
There's now about 50 countries that have or are currently working on implementing a remote visa program of some sorts. That's definitely changing because of the lockdown to now an open market and how they incentivize employers and employees to be able to come and stay in their destinations. But we're seeing predominantly a lot in Europe and Southeast Asia. Certainly the Caribbean has a large amount of these countries, as well as Central and South America are certainly adopting this trend. Even to the tune of local municipalities in the United States, we're seeing, and even in Europe, certain countries pay given that you stay and you come and spend and bring your business a certain amount of time, they're actually incentivizing people to come and move their family and their businesses to these destinations. So it's certainly a growing market, and there's more and more countries we're seeing explore the benefits of these visa programs.
And here we are in the Caribbean. Any interesting stuff happening in the Caribbean around that?
There's a lot. We're seeing Invest Barbados support the welcome stamp, which was the first in the Caribbean to really modify and adapt their policy towards this remote work program in response to COVID. They are continuing to evolve and move that. We've seen Discover Puerto Rico is theirs, the Grand Cayman, Bermuda. There's several that have rolled these programs out and are continuing to adopt, and through the conversation here, explore how do they share in this commonwealth of knowledge to iterate and evolve the policies to better tailor towards the remote workers' needs.
And I'm a remote worker, and I'm thinking about sort of a new destination, or I'm thinking about becoming a remote worker. Where do I go for this help and advice?
Of course, there's a variety of solutions that are out there right now. It's somewhat fragmented, but we're encouraging you to come check out ZEAL Remote, and the application we'll be launching to have a centralized source of truth, a hub for all things remote, to be able to connect and tap you into and through the destinations.
Eric, thanks for joining us today. Good luck with ZEAL. Sounds amazing.
Thanks for having me.